As a kid I used to love Resident Evil games, so I will definitely be getting both games. Loved Resident Evil 2 but hated Resident Evil 7, since 7 is my favorite Final Fantasy game and my second best franchise after Zelda. What makes me sad though is that this might be the last time we get to see Jill, and what's sadder is that it's a remake of an old game. I'm basing this on the fact that Japan is anti-older women. Lol, we would never control a female character in her 40s now, so that's the best we're getting and I'm down for it. If it were me I would turn original characters to mentors of sorts and add new blood to the games, like how RE6 did, but make it a great horror game instead. So which sticks closer to the original? Resident Evil 3 also features quite a few changes. In fact, entire sections of the latter part of the game have been cut or altered. Even the early parts of the game feature significant changes to the plot and pacing of the gameplay. Still, Resident Evil 3 probably wins this category. Final Fantasy VII Remake's gameplay overhaul means that it offers a pretty different fundamental experience compared to the original. Resident Evil 3 features similarly notable gameplay differences, but it still feels much more true to the original in many respects. The market for remakes of beloved classics has proved to be lucrative for Square Enix and Capcom. This is a trend that shows no signs of slowing down, according to Super Data. From gameplay and replay value, to the overhauled story and environments, Resident Evil 3 is a masterpiece. Last week, the Final Fantasy VII Remake released to critical acclaim, and fans appear to be loving it. The game has found itself atop the charts in the UK, spurring a surge in physical purchases. Reportedly, the remake has already sold units equaling half of 2016's Final Fantasy XV. According to a recent IGN post, the original Final Fantasy VII is the best-selling Final Fantasy game of all time. On Twitter, NPD Group analyst Matt Piscatella commented on the remake's potential. "I'm expecting Final Fantasy VII Remake to be a huge hit," Piscatella said. As a huge fan of both series, when Resident Evil 3 and Final Fantasy VII Remakes were both announced, it was like waiting for a bus for two to turn up. Both games granted have a big gap difference between release dates. Then we get to RE3 Remake announcement. I couldn't be any more happy. It was even better there was an okay gap between both games. Now they're practically released on top of each other. Going forward, consumer expectations about backwards compatibility will potentially raise the bar for future remakes, Rogers explained. Both the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X will be no backwards compatible with existing titles, so selling remasters of the same titles with improved resolutions and frame rates might become more difficult. Instead, publishers may have to invest in the kind of full-fledged remakes that have proliferated in recent years to give players a compelling reason to buy a new version of an existing title. Which is the better remake? To be honest, both Final Fantasy VII and Resident Evil 3 take such different remake paths that it's hard to really compare them in the first place. In fact, both games really emphasize two different paths you can go with a remake in the first place. Resident Evil 3 is a superb remake of the original, with Nemesis being the clear highlight. Although inventory management and aiming can be a problem, it's still a fantastic game. Despite its limitations, Resident Evil 3 Remake remains an adventure of interest that lovers of the genre greatly enjoy. A very attractive as well as intense experience. While we're tempted to give the nod to Final Fantasy VII because it feels like more of a reimagining of the original worthy of the remake status, both of these games go to show that video game remakes are a diverse concept that, when they're done well, cover an array of possibilities. This game could have easily been a 10, but there are a few things that hold it back. Padded side quests and some overall padding in the main story. Backgrounds in certain areas look like PNG files. Textures sometimes take ages to load, and convoluted ending controls feel a little bit clunky, but nothing that's overly detrimental. What this game does excellently in my opinion, Excellent characters, great character development, good story, exciting and exhilarating combat. Combat soundtrack has to honestly be one of the best I've heard in years. Amazing art direction. That's it for today. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe. See you next time.